If you've played any game in the Smash Bros. Series, you've probably experienced the fun that comes with looking into the different alternate costumes for each of the characters, ranging from some that look completely weird on the fighter to some that look extremely cool. And it's because of the passion that I have for examining the origins of these costumes that I tried giving the treatment of having great outfits to every character introduced in Smash Bros. 64 in a previous video. And it's safe to say that a lot of you really enjoyed that, and tons of comments were requesting for another episode about this topic, so I'm gonna try to deliver. What if every fighter in Smash Ultimate introduced back in Melee got 4 more alternate costumes, potentially as downloadable content for the game? I took a bunch of your suggestions for this time around, and if you have any for future episodes, consider leaving them in a comment down below and subscribing so that you do not miss it. With all that being said, let's get started. Let's begin with the first character introduced in Melee, this being Princess Peach. Before we craft any new ults, I think it's best that we examine Peach's current outfits to see what's referenced already, what still needs to be referenced, and to try not to duplicate many colors for some variety. Aside from the default pink look, the first is actually pretty unique, as it's a golden dress which could be based on the Golden Peach from Super Mario Party, but it was likely just created as a substitute for the previous Daisy-based ult, considering Daisy's new role as an Echo Fighter in Smash Ultimate. Next up is Peach's red ult, which is based on Pauline's original dress from Donkey Kong artwork. Then we have the blue dress, which is a reference to one of her alternate colorations in Mario Golf. The green dress ult is also based on a look in Mario Golf. The completely white ult is reminiscent of the wedding gown outfits from Super Paper Mario and in Super Mario Odyssey. Next is another white ult, this time with red accents, that could either be based on her original appearance in Super Mario Bros. Or the look of Fire Peach in 3D World. And finally, there's a black and yellow dress, which bears a slight resemblance to Shadow Peach from Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door, but it's unknown as to if this reference was intentional. And now, with all those gone over, what still should be referenced? Well, first and foremost, I think we should definitely reference the game Super Princess Peach, considering Peach has a starring solo role in it, so we're going to use the colors of her umbrella, Perry, as the basis for her dress's look. A nice light yellow color with blue accents. Next, with purple being a typical royal color and all, I think it would be nice to give Peach a darker purple dress with light purple accents, with this ult being a reference to Harriet from Super Mario Odyssey. Considering she's the only female Brutal in the group of 4, it kinda works as an inspiration. Okay, for the next one, we're gonna have to reference Peachette from New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. I didn't really want to have to reference this, but admittedly it is a pretty memorable modern appearance of the character. And for the final ult, we're gonna get a little unorthodox here, but I think it would be fun to reference Princess Shroob from Mario and Luigi. This ult would give Peach a reddish pink color of a dress with some lighter accents. It would now be the only ult that changes her hair color, with it now being purple. And moving on from the princess of the Mario universe to the king of the Koopas, Bowser. Unless you count Donkey Kong, which I really don't at this point, Bowser can be looked at as the first villain brought into the roster as a playable character. And did they provide him with a deservingly great selection of ults? Well, let's find out. The first original alternate look is a black one that's a combination of previous Smash originals from Brawl. Next, we have a yellow ult that resembles the look of the Koopalings Lemmy and Ludwig from their appearances in Super Mario World. Following that is a green ult that could be thought of as being inspired by his older coloration from games like Mario World, for example, but it's likely just inspired from an alternate look of his in Mario Golf. Then there's a gray ult, which is inspired by another Koopalings look, this being Morton's. The next ult is based off of the appearance of Giga Bowser back in Melee. Then there's the red ult, which is based off of another Mario Golf coloration. Finally, there's the blue ult, which is based on Bowser's appearance in Super Mario Bros. 2 The Lost Levels. So there were definitely some cool looks in there and some interesting inspirations, but there's definitely much left to reference, and we're going to try to accomplish that goal while conceiving some cool designs. The first new ult I really want to add here is a new render, being his wedding outfit from Super Mario Odyssey. If Mario and Peach both have him, why not complete the trilogy, right? And following that is probably the most highly requested ult in the comments of the last video, with this being a Dark Bowser ult. While the default blue one may pass in that vein to those who are unaware of the specifics, a true Dark Bowser ult would still be quite a bit different, with dark hair, red eyes, and gray on his face and abdomen. This one would just look really cool, and it would be a great reference to have. And next we have another coloration being loosely based on the Mario and Luigi series. Bowser doesn't have a mostly pink ult yet, so I think it would be really cool if one was based on Midbis from Bowser's Inside Story. They have a similar body type and are rivals in the game, so I think it would be a nice little callback. And next we have an ult that I think would probably work better as its own Echo Fighter if anything, but it was very highly requested, so I'll include it here, with this being Dry Bowser. It would still look really cool despite the movesets not entirely lining up with one another. Next up, we have a pretty unique inclusion in Smash, being Nana and Popo from Ice Climber. Considering this is just one game from the NES, there isn't much that the ults are based on, leaving some room for creativity here. Let's see what the Smash team came up with though. The first original ult gives both Ice Climbers the blue coloration. The one that Nana gets is based on when you hit an enemy in Ice Climber. Next, the green and yellow ult could maybe be inspired by the green and yellow vegetables found within the game, but that could be stretching things a bit. It may just be an original creation. The next ult gives both a shade of blue, with the indigo ult potentially being based based on the darker blue color from Ice Climber. It could simply be a Smash original though. Following that, the next alt gives Nana a red outfit based on her appearance in the American box art for Ice Climber. The brown and gray alt appears to be an original for Smash. The very light blue alt resembles the sprite after touching an enemy, with their mittens being based on their original parka colors. And finally, there's an orange and purple alt, which is an original creation. So yeah, because of the lack of source material, there isn't much to base the alts on, but we're going to try to put a lot of thought into each of the new creations and see what can be done here. The first new alt that I think should be created is going to be based on the condors from Ice Climber. This would be a lighter orange on one and pure white on the other. I personally love this color combination, and not only does it actually reference something, but it's a slightly different color of orange, and there's no fully white costume yet either. Following that, I think it would be cool to reference the polar bear from Ice Climber. This would give one of them a darker pink outfit and the other would be mostly white, but the key detail here is the new shades that would be on their eyes. It would be really funny. Next is the final reference to something Ice Climber specific, this being to the eggplant, which is a prominent vegetable in Ice Climber. This would give a darker purple color to one of them and blue to the other. And finally, I think it would be interesting to reference another duo, potentially the most famous one in all of gaming. This would be a red and green color combination to reference the Mario Brothers. It also kind of works as a reference to Christmas colors if you want to think of it that way. Up next, we have Sheik from the Legend of Zelda series, starting out as a combination character with Zelda and now being all on her own. Let's see what's already been referenced in Ultimate. Aside from the default look, the first alt is red, and it's based on a color scheme that the stealth set can be dyed in Breath of the Wild. And you'll notice this is going to be a theme coming up, don't you worry. Following that is an alt that doesn't change too much from the default look, being based off of her original appearance in Ocarina of Time. The following four, like the previous red alt, are all based on color dyes from Breath of the Wild stealth set. These being the purple alt, the green and brown outfit, the cool looking black and gray outfit, and the yellow alt with a red scarf. And finally, the last alt is surprisingly not based on the stealth set and could either be based on Tetra or Impa, other characters in the series. Tetra is Zelda's alter ego in Wind Waker, sorry for those spoilers by the way, and Impa is a Sheikah from the game, so it could make a lot of sense either way here. There are a few nice looking alts here, but the inspirations are almost entirely from one game, and there's gotta be room to improve there, right? Well, let's see what I could come up with. The first new coloration is gonna be a nice looking pink and white alt that's clearly inspired by Zelda's look in Smash Bros. Ultimate. This one makes a lot of sense to include to me. Next up, we're gonna have a nice light blue alt based on another princess from Ocarina of Time, this being Ruto. It's a nice coloration that makes sense to implement. Following that is a red and orange alt based on Jaru from Ocarina of Time. This character is very important to reference because he's actually the one who tells Link to go and meet Sheik in the Temple of Time. And finally, we're gonna have a completely dark Sheik alt just like the Dark Link's look. I debated on including one like this, but they always look really cool, and making her completely black with red eyes might go along better with the ninja theme of the character, so I thought it would make sense in this case, whereas with some other characters it wouldn't really work. Moving on to a different character, or actually I guess we're sticking with the same character here technically, being Zelda. She got a complete redesign for Ultimate, which is based on her appearances in A Link to the Past and A Link Between Worlds, and I absolutely love it. Let's examine her alternate costumes. Our first new alt is red with brown hair, which is based on her sprite in the original Legend of Zelda when Link rescues her with the red ring equipped. The next alt, which is blue and white, resembles her casual appearance in A Link to the Past. Then we have a light purple alt based on adult Zelda in Ocarina of Time. Following that is a green look that looks like her sprite when Link rescues her with no ring equipped in Legend of Zelda, a contrast to the red alt. Her black alt is likely a Smash original, but it could possibly be a slight reference to Vati or the idea of the Dark Link alts. Following that is a coloration based on her appearance in Twilight Princess, which was also the basis of her look in previous Smash games. And finally, there's a white dress, which could be a reference to when Link rescues her with the blue ring equipped in the original Legend of Zelda, but it may also be a reference to her white dresses from A Link to the Past and Skyward Sword. There are some interesting inspirations and alternate costumes here, but what still should be added? Let's find out. The first new alt I really want to add here is a new render, being Breath of the Wild Zelda. While I get that the concept of giving her a complete design overhaul for Ultimate was meant to represent more games from the series, if this was to be DLC, then I don't see an issue with a new render being added in this case. Next up is going to be an alternate coloration based on Marin from the Legend of Zelda series. This would don Zelda a nice light blue dress with pink accents, and I feel would look really nice on her. Following that, I think giving Zelda an alt based on Hilda would look really cool. Giving her the purple hair and accents along with the white dress could be amazing. Definitely one that should be added here. And finally, this is going to be a pretty weird idea, but what if we had an alt based on the possessed version of Zelda? Most of her current alts just invoke the standard sense of royalty and beauty of the character, but this one with the yellow and red eyes from the Spirit Tracks version while also utilizing the darker purple colors from the Twilight Princess iteration would evoke a different tone that's good for a DLC costume. The next character I'm talking about today is Dr. Mario, a fighter like the Ice Climbers who is more of an obscure addition and there wasn't as much to base alts off of. But let's see what's currently in the game before devising anything new. The first new alt is a red one, which could could be based on the red virus from the Dr. Mario games. Next is the blue coat, which could be based on the blue virus. Following that is a green coat, which appears to be a Smash original. Then there's the cool looking black outfit, which is another original to Smash. The yellow coat is likely based on the yellow virus, completing the trio of the main 3 virus colors from the series. The purple coat is likely an original creation for Smash Brothers. And last up we have a pink coat, which is meant to resemble the color of the outfit worn by Nurse Toadstool. There were definitely a lot of originals here, some of which looked pretty cool. Let's see what new alts could be in store. The first 2 new alternate colors are going to be based on new viruses introduced for the mobile game Dr. Mario World. We're going to have a bolder lime green color for his coat to reference the green virus, and a different shade of light blue being a bit bolder this time around to reference the new light blue virus in Dr. Mario World. I thought it made a lot of sense to reference at least 2 of these considering how important this mobile game is to Dr. Mario modernly, and the 2 that I chose were probably the most distinct from the current versions of colors already included as Smash alts. Next is going to be an orange lab coat with blue pants to reference the character Helio, who you could play as in Dr. Mario 64. Pretty obscure, but hey, at least it gives us a new color. And finally, we're going to have a really cool looking alt here where Dr. Mario's face will become purple, he'll have yellow eyes, and a dark purple and black coat to reference Vampire Wario, who's an unlockable playable character in Dr. Mario 64. Next up we have yet another strange inclusion for Melee, this being Pichu. Man, I guess just having one of those electric rodents wasn't enough, we had to get another one. Let's check out the current alts for Pichu in Ultimate. The first alt gives Pichu goggles, which are reminiscent of the swimmer trainer class, kinda weird but okay. Then we have an alt resembling his red team costume from Melee. Next is the first of 2 of my favorite alts in the entire game, being the Team Skull beanie, which is worn by the team in Sun and Moon. And then there's the one based on Team Aqua from Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Again, it looks great. Following that is a look based on spiky-eared Pichu, an event Pokemon from Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Great reference here. Then Pichu has a flower barrette alt, which is based on that accessory from Sun and Moon. And finally, there's an alt where Pichu wears the Focus Band item. There are definitely some interesting alts here, some that look great with equally great inspirations, and some that are kinda random, so we're gonna try to stick with that theme for these new ones. I also don't feel that Pichu should have to reference every gen like Pikachu does, since he's not the mascot of the franchise. The first new alt is almost mandatory to include at this point, this being Shiny Pichu. It'll make it a bit darker, but overall not too much of a change. This reference is tremendously important though, considering that Shinies were introduced in Gen 2, and for the only Generation 2 rep in Smash, it should definitely have its shiny form. Next up, we're gonna give Pichu another alt based on an evil team, this time being Team Rocket, the enemy team in Gen 2. I'm not giving him a beanie because Team Rocket doesn't have beanies and instead wear the red R on their chest, so I think giving him a cute little handkerchief with the red R on it would suffice. The next alt is going to be a blue one based on the Pokemon Meryl. This Pokemon had a long history of being incorrectly called Pikablue by fans in the lead up to the game's release, and it kind of serves as the Pikachu clone for Generation 2. And the final alt is going to give Pichu the colors of a Pokemon egg, with the majority of its body being white with light green cheeks. It's meant to reference the breeding mechanic which Pichu was one of the main showcase mons for in Gen 2. The next character is Falco Lombardi from Star Fox. Let's see what his alts look like. The first alt is based on his orange jumpsuit from Star Fox 64. Next up is a nice looking blue jumpsuit that's become an original creation for Smash over the years. Following that is a red jumpsuit which references his appearance in Star Fox Assault. The green jumpsuit doesn't really have any origins in Ultimate, being a Smash original. Then there's a dark costume that looks like Fox's, or it could be thought of as inspired by a real life Raven. Next is a light blue coloration, also being an original to Smash. And last up is a purple color scheme that could be based on Cat Monroe, a character with a romantic interest in Falco. Quite a few original creations here, meaning we've got to get a couple references in, but also have a little bit of freedom. Let's see what his new alts could look like. First up, we're going to reference Leon, a member from Team Star Wolf and one of the main rivals of Falco. It's going to give his face a green coloration and look pretty cool overall. Following that, we're going to have a pretty funny alt based on Revali from Breath of the Wild. The joke is that they resemble one another so much already, so why not completely embrace it in Smash? Then we're going to have an alt based on the colors of his outfit in Star Fox Adventures. This would give him a slightly different look while also referencing a completely different Star Fox game. And the final alt is going to be based on the modern look of Andross, the main villain from the franchise. If you remember back last time, we gave Fox an alt based on the retro Andross colors, and Falco is going to get the newer version here with a more of a brown color scheme with some black, red, and white accents. Next up is Marth, the original protagonist of the Fire Emblem series. Let's see what costumes they came up with. First up is the red and black coloration, which resembles the sprites of the enemy units in the series. Next, the green alt is based on the allied units from the Fire Emblem games. The black alt with the yellow cape resembles Camus, one of Marth's allies. The white alt resembles Leaf, another protagonist from the series. Following that is the slightly darker blue alt, which looks like his appearance in Mystery of the Emblem. Then there's a yellow alt, which is based on Roy's yellow alt from Melee, which was given to Marth in Smash 4 because of Roy's absence from the base roster of the game. And finally, there's a light blue and purple alt, which is based on his appearance in Shadow Dragon in the Blade of Light. There's some cool looking costumes here with some great inspirations. Let's see how we can live up to the high standards set. The first alt we're going to add here is based on Kada, another character from Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon. This would give Marth a nice red and white look. Following that, we're going to have a purple and green look, which is based on Garneth, the main antagonist of Shadow Dragon. This one would look pretty cool. Next, we're going to have another alt based on an antagonist from Shadow Shadow Dragon, this time being Medusa, with it being prominently purple with golden accents. And finally, since Marth doesn't have a pink alt yet, I think it would be nice to give him an alt based on Tiki, another character from Shadow Dragon. This would also give him green hair. The next character today is Young Link, another strange inclusion. Let's see what his current alts are in Smash. The first original costume for Young Link is this red tunic based on the Goron outfit in Ocarina of Time. Likewise, the blue look is based on the Zora tunic from that game. The white alt resembles Link's tunic with a blue ring equipped in the original Legend of Zelda. Following that is a pink alt, which is likely an original for Smash. The blue alt is likely based on Link's outfit from Breath of the Wild. Next is an orange alt, which is inspired by the Spirit Medallion in Ocarina of Time. And finally, there's an amazing look that resembles Dark Link and the Dark Interlopers from Twilight Princess. There are definitely some interesting choices here, so with all that being said, let's create some new ones. The first new alt I really want to add here is a purple, yellow, and orange coloration, which is based on Skull Kid's appearance. He's a prominent villain from Majora's Mask, where the younger version of Link makes an appearance. Following that is his standard dark red and black Traveler's outfit from Hyrule Warriors Legends. The yellow outfit from this game could also be used as a new coloration for Young Link. And finally, one last outfit from Hyrule Warriors is Young Link's standard Great Sea outfit, giving him a purple color scheme. The next character is the final new one from the Legend of Zelda series introduced in Melee. Oh, and yeah, a piece of information that I'm sure Zelda fans totally want me to bring up again is that there's only been one more introduced since then. Yeah, I had to say it. Regardless, let's examine his costumes. The first new alt for Ganondorf gives him a purple cape in a similar way to Yuga's cape, main antagonist from A Link Between Worlds. Next is the blue alt, which is inspired from the coloration of Ganon, his monster form, which appears in many games in the series. The green alt and then the purple alt that follows it are both Smash originals. Then we have the brown alt, which is based on his appearance in Wind Waker. Following that is a pretty cool looking white alt, which is a Smash original. And the final alternate look is based on Ganondorf's appearance in Twilight Princess, which his main appearance used to be based on in older Smash games. There are some interesting looks here, so now let's create some new ones. The first new alt I really want to add here is based on Calamity Ganon's colors from Breath of the Wild. It makes sense to reference this newer Zelda game, and he would look nice with a predominantly light red and black color scheme. After this, we're gonna add a new rendered alt being based on Phantom Ganon from Ocarina of Time. It makes a lot of sense, and it's a really cool and iconic look for the character. Following that, we're gonna have an alt based on another version of Phantom Ganon, this being the one from Wind Waker, which would provide a unique look for Ganondorf with the bright light blue colors combined with the typical black. And finally, this is gonna be more of a funny one, but I'd like to see an alt that gives Ganon the color scheme of Captain Falcon, as a reference to the incredibly long amount of time that their movesets were very similar to one another, and are still pretty similar in some ways to this day. Up next, we have a fan favorite legendary Pokemon, being Mewtwo. Being very unique and serving as an antagonist of sorts for the cast of Pokemon characters, let's see what alts he was given in Ultimate. The first new look is an orange coloration, which is a possible look for Mewtwo in Pokemon Stadium. Likewise, this is also the inspiration behind the darker blue color of Mewtwo. Next is a brown coloration, which likely references the limited color palette of the original Pokemon games, but it could simply be an original idea. The pink coloration is a reference to Mewtwo's early artwork for Red and Green, which was more pink than purple. The yellow alt was based on Mewtwo's original shiny coloration from Gold, Silver, and Crystal. Following that is another alt which is originally based on shiny Mewtwo, but over the years has transitioned further away from the green shiny colors to more of a cyan. And finally, we have a really nice looking dark alt, which is inspired by the appearance of Shadow Lugia and XD Gale of Darkness. There are some fun ideas here, but which new ones do I think should be added as a DLC update? Well, let's go over them right now. The first new coloration I'd like to add is colors based off of the original Mew. This would give Mewtwo predominantly the same bold pink color, and his tail would get the nice light blue color of Mew's eyes. Following that is going to be a new rendered alt based on Armored Mewtwo. This one originated in the Mewtwo Strikes Back movie, but has more recently been included in Pokemon Go. It would be really cool to include this. Another awesome alt to include is the Shadow Mewtwo from Pokken Tournament. This one is much different from the current dark alt because he's almost completely black this time around with some orange highlights that look amazing. And the final alt is going to make the majority of Mewtwo's body a light red and his tail a shade of green. And no, this one isn't another Christmas alt. This one is meant to reference Mewtwo's inaugural in-game appearance in the original Pokemon Red and Green. I figure it's more likely that this alt gets in rather than a red and blue alt, since those weren't Japan's original Pokemon games. Moving on to the next character, which is Roy from the Fire Emblem series. Let's find out where his costumes were inspired from. The first new alt is an orange look, which is based on the enemy units from the series. And again, like Marth, there's a green costume that's looked to be inspired from the ally units in the Fire Emblem games. Next up is a purple alt, which resembles Marcus, Roy's guardian in the Binding Blade. Following that is a light blue look, which is meant to resemble Eliwood, Roy's father. The dark purple alt references Zephiel, the main antagonist of the Binding Blade. Then we have a pink and white alt, which is based on Cecilia. And last up is his iconic golden armor alt, which is an original creation for Smash. There's some well-inspired and cool-looking alternate costumes here. I'd argue some of the best looking in the entire game. There are high standards to hit, so let's find out what else could be added. First up, I think it would be nice to reference Lilina, another character from the Binding Blade. This would actually change Roy's hair color to be blue, unlike any of his current alts, and he'll have red armor. Then we're gonna have a dark blue alt with a red cape based on Hector from the Binding Blade. Next is a dark purple alt based on Brunya, a villain from the Binding Blade. It would also give him a lighter purple shade of hair. And the final alt is gonna be really cool based on his appearance in Fire Emblem Awakening. The main colors would be white, silver, black, and purple. And the last character introduced for Melee is Mr. Game & Watch. And what many of you may not realize is that there are actually some interesting origins for his alternate looks, despite there not being much source material at all for colors from Game & Watch games since they're all in black and white. Let's examine them. Game & Watch's red coloration is based on how objects looked when displayed in the Virtual Boy. Then this terrible looking yellow color is likely based on the color that the original Game Boy displayed games in. The darker blue color seems to be an original creation for Smash. Next is the teal color that's reminiscent of the shades commonly used by the Game Boy for the background and foreground of game screens. Pretty odd, I know. The light blue design is based on the backlit display of the Game Boy Light. Following that is a darker green, which doesn't seem to have any inspiration behind it. And finally, there's a light gray alt that's likely inspired by the LCD screen of the Game & Watch games. Some interesting choices here to say the least, so what could we possibly come up with that utilizes new colors? Let's find out. First up, I'd like to add orange, purple, and pink colors because they're some of the main colors that we see for characters in Smash that aren't represented yet. In terms of what they could reference, it may simply be nothing, but orange could be a reference to the typical coloration of real-life lions for the Game & Watch title Lion. And the purple and pink alts could be a reference to the Game & Watch title Octopus due to the typical pink and purple colorations of these creatures when found in the Pacific Ocean. And for the final alt, we're going to continue with the established theme of the references by referencing something related to Nintendo hardware, and what better to reference than the Nintendo Switch. We're gonna give him the gray coloration based on the same gray of the standard Joy-Cons for the console. At least this one maintains the theme while not exactly having the same bold coloration as the first three that I mentioned. Man, that's a lot of alts, and with all that being said, I hope you enjoyed taking a look at some new ideas that I had, and if you're interested in a future Brawl episode, let me know in the comment section down below, and leaving a like on this video. If enough of you want to see it, we'll make it happen. Remember to subscribe with notifications on to make sure that you do not miss my newest videos, and with all that being said, I'll see you next time.